notice mistakes in grammar, syntax, word choice, and sentence construction. If English speakers have a hard time, imagine how much harder it is for non-native English speakers. So how does a non-native English speaker can make sure their paper is written not only compellingly but also with correct grammar? While there are some online applications like Grammarly which can spot errors, grammar experts would tell you they are not completely accurate. And these programs don't always understand what you are trying to say. Many writers skip checking their work with Grammarly because it sometimes changes the messages they are trying to convey. Here are a few ways international students and international scholars can write compellingly. Tip number 1, hire an editor. A plain and simple way to hire an editor who has some background knowledge of the paper you are writing to review and edit it. And yes, hiring an editor costs money, but it is often worth it. The most important thing to do is to review how your editor edits your paper. So review what kind of mistakes you have made and make notes of them. So study how to improve your writing based on the edited version. And remember that your professor is not your proofreader or editor. And I have had some international students who submitted their work without even proofreading it. As English is also not my native language, I know and I understand how difficult it is for international students to write a paper in English. However, as a professor, reviewing a paper that has not edited, even on the surface, is quite challenging. The technical errors distract me from understanding the content and logic of the paper and make it difficult to provide feedback to improve the quality of the paper. Although it costs money, please get your paper professionally edited before you submit your work to your professor. Your professors will be able to focus more on the substance rather than technical issues if you submit a professionally edited paper. Hiring an editor might be the best way for you to go, especially if you haven't had enough time to really learn the language. When you do get your work back from your editor, take time to note their edits so you can use them in your own writing in the future. Tip number 2, familiarize yourself with common grammar mistakes. Make sure you have the correct layout, punctuation, grammar, syntax, capitalization, spelling, and word forms. Word form means if they need to be hyphenated, etc. Just following these rules will already make your paper appear more professional. I know you will not be able to familiarize yourself with all of these right away. Start with what is easiest for you. Punctuation would be a pretty good place to start. So knowing when and where to place uncommon punctuation marks, such as colons, semicolons, and dashes, will improve your writing and provide clarity. Semicolons are used to link two independent clauses that are related by the same thought. For example, some people use their iPads to take down class notes. Semicolon, others write notes in notebooks. And colons are mostly used when you are listing something in a sentence. So for example, I bought several things at the store today. Colon, a toothbrush, a pack of toilet paper, some apples, and a chocolate bar. And commas are used to connect an independent clause with a dependent clause. enumerate and indicate pauses for conjunctions. For example, because writing English is difficult, comma, I decided to hire a professional editor to check my work. There are even more uses for each of these punctuation marks. What I introduced is basic uses of each. And these punctuation marks can be tricky, so learn how to use them differently. For layout, it is a common practice to apply 1-inch margin for all 4 sides and left justification for the text. Use the right page size and orientation too. So letter size and proofread orientation are commonly used in academic society. So using these correctly will make your paper look more polished. My tip number 3, study the proper uses of homonyms. Homonyms are words that sound the same but have different spellings and meanings. So for example, so many people confuse the uses of they are and there, and you are and your, and then and then. So according to academic editors, using the wrong homonym is very common. Even native English speakers get this wrong. So also homonyms are one of the pitfalls of Grammarly. I can personally attest to this. On the screen, you see some common homonyms that are frequently misused. Also included all of this information in the description section for you to check out. Try to familiarize yourself with these words among other homonyms and learn their proper uses and meaning. My tip number 4, avoid using direct quotes improperly. So one proof of careless and thoughtless writing is using direct quotes incorrectly. I often found that graduate students without much research experience tend to overuse direct quotes when they cannot explain things in their own words. What is a direct quote? A direct quote is using the exact words of the original author. So we use direct quotes when the original words carry special meaning. How to use a direct quote? And there are 2 ways to use a direct quote depending on the length. When the quote is less than 40 words, use double quotation marks. When the quote is more than 40 words, and use a block quote in its own paragraph, which is usually indented on the left 0.5. It will take time for you to be able to write compellingly on the fly. So as I have already mentioned, until then, find yourself a good editor. It would be good if you find an editor you can work with for a long time. And though you are spending money, Don't think of it as an expense. Hiring editor is actually an investment. I have never submitted a manuscript to a journal without having it edited by a professional editor. Even New York Times best-selling authors have an editor on their payroll. Having an editor not only takes away stress of making mistake off your shoulders, but you also have the help of another person to take your writing to the next level. It is always good practice to have your work rechecked and proofread before turning it in. So you are going to make small mistakes, especially in longer pieces. After looking at your writing for so long, you can fail to notice these mistakes. The fresh eyes of an editor will catch them and correct them. If you can't afford to have an on-call long-term editor, you can also ask a friend or a colleague to look over your work. The rest, your committee or your supervisor will most likely to be able to point out. So writing an academic paper is not a small task. Academic publication can be your ticket to a career in higher education. Invest in it. So have you got any tips for improving your academic writing? If so, and please share them with the members of this community so that they can improve their own writing. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then please like it and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you so much for watching.